Thank you, everyone. This is Kartik. Can you hear me? Perfect. So, just quick introduction. Did my master's from Carnegie Mellon Machine Learning back in 2012, 2014. I run this company known as Springworks. We are remote. We bootstrap. We profitable. Around 200 plus people. Been running this for a while. We basically build category-defining work culture products. We start with background verification. Now we do employee engagement and employee productivity. So before I get into what's kind of Albus and obviously it's AI and OpenAI and all of that, right? I think the previous talked about GPT-4 embeddings, fine tuning. So I'll get into all of those details later. But just a quick set of questions. How many of you have joined a company in the last say 2 years? That's it. So say last 5 years, almost every. Okay. Cool. So when you join the company, I'm sure you must have been given a bunch of knowledge-based documents, presentations and whatever internal wikis and all of that to go through, right? So did you actually end up going through all of that, or did you have some questions you wanted to ask an HR or your manager or a peer or someone? How was that process?
I mean, it was initially because there are a lot of things that you are skeptical initially by now.
Correct.
So I don't think most of them were answered, but yeah, a few of them were covered by the
Got it. All right. So what type of questions were these? Like how many leaves do I have? More like HR related, work related.
Yeah. For example, if I want to ask you if I can take 8 to 10 leaves at once.
Yeah.
Or if there are maybe certain holidays that
Correct.
I can skip upon.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, so exactly, those are type of queries, not just new joiners, but even during the work you would have, right? What's the status of this ticket? When did this feature go live? Who's the customer success manager for this, client? How many, customers have paid, us in the last 3 months, right? And I'm sure all of you are working in a company. How many tools do you generally use? Like, Slack and Teams and Jira and all. Like, do you all generally use more than 5+ tools on a daily basis? Right? So fair to say, right? How do you kind of search across all of them? How do you answer something in natural language is what we are trying to do here. So we use GPT-4. We start with GPT-3, 3.5, and then move to 4. So this I've already talked about the different problems we are kind of focusing on. I'll get into the demo after some time. So starting with Slack as the first kind of interface, right? So things like doing a Slack thread summary. You have a thread which has around 100 emails, 100 messages. How do you get a summarization of all that content? How do you build your own company wiki, right? Which is exactly what you mentioned: the leave policy, the handbook, the vacation policy, stuff like that. Different languages, Chinese, English, whatnot, conversational chatbot. So it's not just, one question. You can actually ask clarification questions, right? How does it help? Saves, obviously you time, saves the HR team time, saves the managers, saves the CEOs. And these are just different use cases of how people are using right now, right? So writing code, asking for documentation, writing unit tests, asking for debugging help, writing content, social media posts, emails, whatnot, doing sales, marketing, generation of drip email campaigns, generation of different leads, designing logos, changing, getting a logo from 16 by 16 to 32 by 32, things like that, right? All these typical type of things where it's very repetitive, mundane work, which generally, we end up doing, but now AI or bot can do, right? Different integrations which the bot works with. So this is how we kind of use. Just I'll get into the demo first. Yeah, so you can see my screen, right? Perfect. So look at this. Let's collapse this. So I asked, how do I reimburse, for vacation? So we have this, given that we are remote, we have a vacation, benefit in our company, which has, you get a certain amount of money to go take a vacation, and you can either work there or, take a vacation from a remote, working policy. So you can ask, Albus, how do I reimburse for vacation, right? So it will actually go through that. It will give you the entire answer in plain, English. and it will tell you where it got the answer from. So that's the other benefit, right? So it will actually give you the source. So if you want to go validate it yourself, you can do that, right? And then you can, go, get fancy, right? So you can say, you can upvote it if you like the answer. You can kind of downvote it, and it will say, I need to go, fix. You can escalate it, to the admin. You can generate any AI answer. Second thing, so we have this policy in our company where if you do we have like a lunch policy. So if you do a meeting with your team, you can actually get a reimbursement for that, food or lunch or whatever, right? So you want to, a very typical question, how do I get reimbursed for that? I have this bill, how do I get reimbursed, right? So you'll ask Albus. Albus will say to upload the bill, go to the software, go to this handbook. Here you can submit the expenses, right? And then we'll give you the source as well. Same thing, you buying a new software, you want to know the company's GST number, right? You will kind of get the GST number here. So here is the difference, from like a typical, Google search, right? So if you search for what is the GST number, it will actually give you the list of documents, where the number is. It will not give you the answer. So that is what used to happen around 5-6 years ago. And now I think in the last 5 years, they've changed slightly towards giving you the answer, right? You will say, what's the weather today? It will actually give you the weather, or it will give you the temperature. But earlier it used to give a link to that website. So what a chatbot generally does is not just gives you the links, but actually goes inside those links and gets the answer. So saves you a step, right? So helps you, for some context, right? How do I write unit tests, right? So obviously there is a lot of information on internet on how do you write a unit test, but we have our own handbook, on how do you write a unit test, right? So again, picks it up from the unit, the handbook. So says it's coming from there. You can click into it. You can kind of open and dive in deeper, or you can just kind of get the information here, right? So it'll tell you first you create a ticket in our ticket management system, ADO as your DevOps. Then you kind of mention the methods which you will be kind of testing for, and this is what the unit test should do, stuff like that, right? So we're doing an offsite in Jaipur this year. So like a typical question, where will we go for the alcohol night, right? So it'll say from the Slack channel, right? So not just a document, right? So we have a Slack channel for offsite Jaipur. It's able to read this information and understand, and then tell you, the location for the alcohol night is Asteria, right? And if you look at this, so here we would have said closed on the alcohol. So this was yesterday. So it's able to pick up new information, learns itself. So this is not a, I'll get into the tech behind it, but this is not information which is out there on the internet, right? This is information which is like private to you, things like that. And then you will say, okay, how do I reschedule my flights? So it's smart enough to understand that you're talking about your trip, the offsite to Jaipur, and then it will say, okay, so this person is asking me something about the offsite in Jaipur and wants to get to know how do I reschedule, and so these are the steps to do that, right? So it's able to kind of tell you that as well. Then yeah, so just typical stuff here. Oops, there it is. Yeah, other types of questions. Can you capitalize the first letter of first word with CSS? And something you could probably find on Stack Overflow as well, but this is just easier, and you can have a conversation back and forth. You can collaborate with your teammates as well. We have a perk in the office, which is our LSA policy, the lifestyle spending allowance. How do you do that? What is the budget? Things you had as well. So what's the tech behind it? So I think you talked about the two different methods, embeddings versus fine tuning. So we do embeddings right now. So which is first we get all the data from different tools you use, Slack, Google Drive, Notion, whatever it is. Create embeddings for it. Embeddings is nothing but computer readable, how a computer reads basically natural language. So converts words into numbers. Then you chunk it. Chunking is separating, creating different documents or smaller documents of a certain size. That's more from a searching and a context perspective. The current AI models have limited context. They can't, you can't send them like an entire 100-page document, right? Then you put it in a database. So we use a combination of a vector database and an Elasticsearch from a text search and a vector database from a vector embeddings perspective. And then at the time of query, so what you do is, again, you convert to embeddings, you search inside your database, inside your vector database, inside your text database. You do a re-rank because you want to kind of combine both pieces, from your text and your vector, and you do a re-rank with it. So we use Cohere for re-ranking. There are other models as well. And then you do an answer with GPT-4, OpenAI. And then finally, you send it to an evaluator to see, is this answer even correct? Is this answer from the right context? Stuff like that. So that's how it kind of works at a very high level. We built some other tools as well. So kind of 1v1. We've done some Chrome extensions. We've done a leave policy generator. We've done an analyze your documents as well. I can kind of show you stuff like this. So yes, I'll just try for free. Let me see if I have a good document. And it doesn't work all the time, right? So that's the reality of AI. It's not 100%. It works, it works maybe 10 out of, as in 8 out of 10 times as of now. So let's see if it works. I'm doing a live demo, so things don't really go well on a live demo, but let's see how this works. So I've uploaded an agreement, which is with a customer, right? So I'll say who's the customer here? What's the pricing, right? So this is like a 5-page or whatever, actually a more than a 5-page, 8-page document, right? So if I open this here, it's around 141 KB, so not much, but it's a 12-page document. Right? It's a typical contract, right? It can be your lease, it can be your resume, it can be anything. And then you can just ask, right? The customer in this context is, Spring Roll. What's the pricing? So it's able to find the pricing from this long document, give you the pricing here. It says at 200 questions per month, per license, it's around $1,950 per year. Any additional licenses. So it's not just tells you the pricing, but actually gives you some extra information as well, right? It also tells you if there is a payment through credit card, what's the charge. So what's my, what's my liability, right? A typical contract, you will have this type of question. So here in this case, it's as per the given context. So if I would have to search here, I would probably do this, right? And then it will tell me, limitation of liability. It's 3 months preceding the liability event, right? So very similar. It's able to pull up that detail as well. Then let's see, where is the jurisdiction? If there is an issue, which court has the jurisdiction? So if I do the same search on my PDF directly, I'll probably search here and then I'll get very similar answer. But here it will actually, it said San Francisco. So it's got to a level deeper than San Francisco here, because somewhere than California, right? In the search it came to California, but somewhere else I'm sure San Francisco would have been mentioned. Let's just check. Yeah, so it's here. And then so based on the clients, the company's cities, it's able to bring that up, right? It's actually here. So you saw, right? So that's the advantage of having a search. If I do a direct search, I may not get the answer. I will still have to go through the document to get the answer myself. But here it's able to go through the entire document, find all the places where the word jurisdiction or similar words have come up. So actually this is an interesting example. So I asked for, if there is an issue, which court has the jurisdiction? The word jurisdiction is not even in this paragraph, right? So it's the text is not even there. Even then, it's able to tell us the answer. And how is it's doing is that's the nature of, that's the beauty of embeddings, right? Because embeddings is actually finding similar words, right? So like a cat and a dog will have very similar embeddings, even though they're not the same word, right? So that's a very typical benefit of having AI and the entire point of having embeddings. Any other any questions, any examples you would like me to ask here? Anyone has no? Perfect. So I can do some more. So let's see. How many casual leaves do I get in a year, right? And let's ask a few more. What if I get sick on a Monday? How do I apply for a sick leave without notice, right? Do I need to, let's make it more complex, do I need to give a reason to apply for a sick leave? Yeah, so I guess casual did not bring the answer, so it's not always accurate. So let's see if this one works. This is slightly more complex because I don't think our handbook says the word sick leave. We use the word personal time off, but it's able to get that answer as well. Yeah, so it says according to the leave policy mentioned in source 1, which is this, if you want to apply for sick leave, you can apply it on the same day whenever you want. There's no mention of needing to provide a reason for sick leave. However, it's good practice. So it's not just tells you that it's not required, but goes a step further and says it's a good practice to inform your manager about your situation. And you can apply for the leave in KK as mentioned in source 3. So if I click here, it's actually able to get to that source. So it's get to that exact Slack message, in this case Slack, but in other cases could be a document, could be a page, could be an image, right? So it's able to get to that exact place and tell you where it's coming from.